And I want to tell you a little anecdote that illustrates how hurt goes in and how a parent can heal the hurt and how sibling relationships can stay relatively free of resentment and worry and fear and anger, even when things go wrong. It's a very hopeful little story. I was speaking in Australia one time, and a mom came up to me after my talk and said, "Oh my gosh, it's really good to talk to you. I've read your booklets, and I've been doing special time and stay listening with my children, and I just have to tell you this story." She said, "One day, I have a boy and a girl, and my boy is older, and he's in first grade, and my little girl is 4. And school had just started, and he was in first grade, and he came home after school, and he must have gone up to my daughter and it's where you squeeze the skin on someone's arm in opposite directions, and it doesn't do any real harm, but it hurts, and so he squeezed the skin on his sister's arm. Someone must have done it at school to him that day, and so he came and tried it out on her. And she screamed and ran to me and cried and cried and cried. And she cried for a long time. "He did this to me. He hurt my arm." And she was devastated. She was just, heartbroken that her brother had attacked her in this way, and it hurt and it surprised her. And she really cried hard for a good long time. And the mom knows to stay listened, so she kept her daughter close and she kept eye contact, and she said, "Tell me more." And her daughter cried and cried and cried. And the mom put in a little bit of information every now and then. "Sweetie, your brother really loves you. He must have lost his mind for a moment," and she cried some more, I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt you like this," and cried some more. And so when the crying began to slow down, the little girl kind of wiped her tears and, sniffled a little bit and looked at her mom. Then all of a sudden her face changed and she got this big smile on her face. And she said, "Mommy, he squeezed me like a lemon." And she laughed. She just giggled. And then she ran off to play with her brother. It's just like it was over, the insult was over, the hurt was over. She had expressed all the feelings she had, not in words, but in the tone of her crying and how hard she was crying. And when her mind righted itself, she made an association between what happened to her arm and squeezing lemons, and that was her thought. It's like, oh, she could think again. It was like squeezing a lemon. She giggled, Another little bit of stress release. Laughter is a very important and very potent stress release mechanism. I think I forgot to mention it in the previous little segment, that it's not just tantrums and crying and sweating and all of that heavy sort of emotional Sturm und Drang. It's also laughter that really helps children get through the emotional dents in their lives, so they can think better and have a brighter outlook on life. So it's a little example of, lots and lots of emotion getting expressed, a parent really anchoring a child through all that, trusting that the child has the process, the child can do this process, they were born with it, that what you need to do is just supply the safety and supply the connection. And then you get to wait and see what happens. How does your child recover? How do they feel better? What can they do now that they couldn't do before, which is what the parent did. And the little girl went off to play with her brother. No problems there. Now, there's some issues to handle with the brother coming home and doing that to his sister. But we're really looking just at that interaction, at how the emotional release process can free a child from the damage that difficult moments do, from carrying that damage from day to day to day, and from a relationship with a sibling having to carry that damage from year to year to year. That's what we really want. So you have 2 tools that I'm going to talk with you about for fostering the sense of connection that your child has, for building this nice, plump, sturdy sense of connection so your child isn't so easily, knocked off balance by the activities or the behaviors of their sibling or siblings. You really want children who can kind of hang on to their sense of connection and who can get through rough and tumble and kinds of play and little squirrely parts in their relationship with their siblings without losing their ability to think altogether. And the first step that you take, definitely not the only step, but the first and perhaps most important step you can take is to do what we call special time. This is our first listening tool that we're going to teach you, and it holds a special place. It's really your way of offering proactive connection to your child, of repairing the connection and bolstering that sense of connection so your child gets sturdier and sturdier. They trust more and more that you have them in your mind and in your heart when they need you. So how you do special time is it's very simple. You set aside in your mind some time. You're in charge of how much time. You're in charge of when that time happens, and you're in charge of where you are when that time happens. You also have to be in charge of clearing other siblings out of the way so that really is just you and your child, without the baby walking through, without the teenager coming in going, Dad, where's the car keys? If that happens, you ignore. You go, oh, I'm in special time. I'll talk to you in 10 minutes. We'll be done then. So you protect this time and you give it your 100% attention, 110% perhaps. So, and you go into it with as little weariness as you can manage. You go in with high expectations of something fun happening, of learning something about your child. So special time is special because your attitude is special, because your attention is specially directed right at your child, because you will not multitask during this time. That's what makes it special. And you need to name it, and you need to time it. So a lot of parents will try to do special time and they'll go, oh, I don't need to name this. My child is having fun in the bathtub. I'll go in and sit with them and smile, and I'll be delighted, and I'll do that for a while until the water gets cool, and then we'll just say the bath is over, and that'll be a special time. That actually is not special time. It's the kind of time that you spend with your child, off and on during every day. And it doesn't have the healing properties of a named and timed special time. And it's funny, but if you really want to heal your relationships between children in your family and really bolster that sense of connection, you have to call it something. You don't have to call it special time. You can call it Daddy and me time or Mommy and me time. You can call it Rory's time if that's the name of your child. You can call it going on a toot. We have one of our instructors whose grandmother used to call her special time going on a toot. We're going on a toot. What do you want to do? You can call it anything you like, but call it something. Because when you call it, when you name it, then your child can ask for it. They know what to ask for when they really feel like they're getting out of the orbit, of connection with you. They can say, Mommy, I want special time. They don't have to go pull their brother's hair to get your attention. They can notice that they're losing their sense of connection and say, is there time for special time tonight? I really want it. And help bring themselves back into better connection with you. It takes a while of doing special time before a child will ask for it or use it that way, most often. But children feel how they are when you're giving them special time. They feel that attention from you that won't be broken by a phone call, that won't be broken by another sibling's needs, that won't be broken by you wandering off to get a cup of tea. And it feels really good. They notice that it helps them in some very basic internal way, and then they can ask for it. So name it and time it. And the reason that you time it, and it could be anything from 3 minutes to an hour, but I wouldn't do my first special time for an hour. Most of us, it's like parenting has a lot of stress involved with it. And we've been parenting for several years before we get into sibling, challenges and, come to a course like this. And during that amount of time, we have paid lasting attention in shorter and shorter amounts until by the time siblings are getting in trouble with each other, we're multitasking most of the time. We're folding the clothes and watching the baby. We're explaining how to find the Lego kit that the child is looking for while we're scrubbing a pot. We are feeding the baby and stirring the pot at the same time on the stove. And so children are used to getting only 3/4 of us, and we are used to giving 3/4 or a half of our attention to any one thing. So you time special time so that when you get uneasy because it's stretching your attention span, farther than it's been stretched for a while, and you're beginning to feel tireder and tireder, you're beginning to notice that to-do list is shouting louder and louder at you in the back of your mind while you're trying to play Chutes and Ladders with your child. If you've set 10 minutes, you can continue to really be enthusiastic about special time because you know it's going to be over in 7 more minutes. So setting a time gives you a better chance to focus well, gives you a better chance to follow through on your promise to really be there 100% for special time. So you really want to time it, and you want to not time it for an exorbitant amount of time the first time around. If you're an exceptional parent and you've been exceptionally well supported and you think you can do a whole hour of special time without getting distracted or feeling forlorn and abandoned and feeling like you never get your needs met, then go ahead and try it. But for most of us, lots of feelings come up during special time that we have to kind of force into the background while we're really trying to delight in our children. So you name it, you time it, you set a time, you let the timer go off rather than you saying, oh, time's up. So that's so that you're not distracted by checking your watch every 2 minutes to see if the 10 minutes is up yet. And you don't multitask. And what you say to your child is, it's special time now. I'll do whatever you want to do. What do you want to do? And you bring some enthusiasm. So in special time, if your child wants to play catch, and you guys go out on the front lawn or out to the park to play catch, and your child throws the ball to you and you miss it, you want to put some energy into what's going on. You don't sort of turn around and trudge towards the ball that went past you and pick it up and walk back to where you were and toss it back. You go, oh, wow, that was a big one. And you run, catch the ball, and you run back to your place, and then you throw it. It's like, children need us to be in there with them, adding enthusiasm to what they have enthusiasm for. And special time needs to have an end. It's good that it ends. It's fine that it ends. Your child will not be happy that it ends, especially at first. But special time needs to have a beginning, and it needs to have a defined end. So the alarm goes off and you go, okay, that's all the time we have for special time. You give your child a big hug. You end with warmth. You tell them when the next special time will be. And especially in the very beginning, the first 2 or 3 months that you're using special time, you end special time with 10 or 15 or 20 minutes to spare before you really have to be engaged in the very next thing. Because what's going to happen is that you've made it safe enough for your child to notice how they feel. And they felt really, really good while you were paying attention to them, even if they weren't, verbally giving you that feedback. And when it's over, feelings of disappointment are most likely going to bubble up to the surface really fast. So they're going to look at you and big tears are going to come down their face going, can't we just finish the game? And you can do one of two things. You can say, okay, 5 more minutes. And you can put a little more time on the clock and end it again. It needs to end. There needs to be a definite end so that your child knows what's special time and what isn't. And so that there's a place for their disappointments to arise. It's like one of the difficulties between siblings is that children are disappointed not to have your full attention. And it feels like their sibling is getting it. And if that disappointment can come up while you're paying attention, you can listen to how disappointed your child is, let those feelings roll, and that's what your extra 10 or 15 minutes is for. It's like, I know, sweetie, I know it's hard. We can take the game and we'll put it on top of the refrigerator, And we can do it in special time tomorrow. We can pick up right where we left off. But I don't want to do it tomorrow. I want to do it now. Why can't we do it now? I'm sorry, sweetie. We'll have to wait till tomorrow. I promise you we'll do it tomorrow. That's no fair. I want to do it now. And you just let the disappointment roll. It's like these are stored feelings of disappointment. They come up many times a day. You know, you didn't help them brush their teeth first. You know, their brother or sister got a bigger scoop of ice cream. You put them in the car seat that everybody loves, and they had to go in the second-class car seat in the back of the car. These feelings of disappointment bother your family over and over and over again. This is an outlet. The end of special time is an outlet for feelings of disappointment. They will come up because you've made it so special, because you really connected in. And when children really feel connected, they feel hopeful that the feelings that they harbor can be released and you will care. So what you do is you stay listen. This is called stay listening at the end of special time. So what we want you to do is get to using special time with each of your children. And I'm going to say a little bit more about special time here, about how you do special time when you are one parent with multiple children. And there is not an easily elegant solution to special time with more than one child in the house. And it's just you to give special time. If there is a partner, if you have a partner that you parent with, one of the things you can do is save special time for the times when both of you are at home. And one of you can take some of the children and the other one of you can do special time with one. If there are just two children, you each can do special time, each with a child. And then maybe the next night or the next opportunity, you switch who has which child, so that children begin to build this special time relationship with each of you. And children catch on really fast to the stuff they like to do with each of you. They'll develop little special time traditions, and they'll do special time experiments. So that's really a great way to handle special time if you've got the luxury of doing that. For a good part of my parenting, I was a shared custody mom, so when my children were with me, I was the only one home. And in order to get special time done, what I wound up doing was there was one child who played especially well with both of my sons. They both liked him and they got along pretty well. So we would have him over on a regular basis, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And part of what we would do while he was over, this is when my children were 4 and 6 and 7 and 9 and, in early and mid-grade school years. And we would have him over, and he would play with one of my sons in the bedroom, and I would do special time with the other one in the living room. And then I would switch sons, and I'd take my other son, and he'd play with the other one for a while, another 20 minutes. And then my sons would play together pretty well because they both were feeling pretty connected to me, and I would do 20 minutes with him. So he really became part of our family, and we just have a very warm relationship that exists to this day. I think because we did regular special time. I really loved him and he could feel it, and it was a very special relationship. So that's one way to do it. There's another story from one of our new instructors. She happens to be a mother of 8 and a grandmother of 5 already, and she has 3 young girls at home still. And her daughters, this was last year, her daughters were 1.5 and 7 and 9 at this time. And she had to change her work schedule. So unusually she was getting home at 10 o'clock at night. And the children were not in bed, and they were just craving her attention. She could tell when she walked in the door that they really needed to feel connected. So she decided to do special time, although it was 10 o'clock at night and her baby was still up. And so what she did was, she has a special needs child. The 7-year-old is a special needs child, has lots and lots of attention-getting behavior. And so what she did was give a larger chunk of special time to the child that always needs help and always needs attention and whose behavior is always, at least somewhat off track. She gave her daughter a good chunk of special time, I think something like 15 minutes. And her daughter enjoyed it, that went well, and her older daughter took care of the baby during this time. Then she did special time with the baby, and it was a shorter time. The baby was tired, but the two daughters were fine. It's like the daughter that was a squeaky wheel was, settled in and doing okay. So she took time with the baby. And then the daughter that is quite difficult did special time with the baby. She took care of the baby so that this mom could do special time with her 9-year-old. And she said it was so amazing to see her 7-year-old, who has very little tolerance for her siblings, doing fine taking care of the baby while she did special time with the older one. So it's possible to do that. We have another instructor who is a single mom and has 2 special needs children. And sometimes what she does, I have not tried this, but she says it really works. What she does is, because she doesn't have any place for the other child to go while one is getting special time. And children have a hard time when one child is getting special time. You'll notice if you try to do special time with your other child or children floating around in the house, what happens is you're doing special time with one, even if it's for 5 minutes, and your children will come and they'll crawl up your back and hang their head over your shoulder and go, "What's going on here?" Or they'll come, whining out of the kitchen going, "Mom, there's not any milk." Or they'll suddenly have an emergency and they'll burst into the room needing something now, or upset with you because something isn't fixed the way they wanted it to be fixed. So special time, children can smell it from half a block away, and it attracts them very, very powerfully. They want what you're giving to the other child, which is why you're trying to find someone else to pay attention, or some other activity that your child can really be involved in while you're doing special time with one of the children in the family. So what she has done is to enlist the other child. So she'll say, "Okay, it's special time for my daughter," and she gets her son to join in to do whatever the daughter wants to do. So she's paying attention and the son joins in. He's a part of whatever it is that the child engineers. And then when it's his turn for special time, the daughter comes in and she's a part of whatever her son engineers. Now this is different from real, just me and you special time. It has a different quality, but it's probably just fine. It's not the only thing you want to do, but it does give a child a sense that they get to be in charge. So those are some examples of things you can do. Really put your thinking cap on, because in order to change relationships that have a lot of tension packed into them, you are going to need support. You are going to need a way to get special time in. Can you sign one child up for Scouts so that you have, Tuesday afternoons or evenings with the other one, and sign that one up for swimming so that you've got, a little bit of time with the first one. Just think what you can do to begin to offer this sort of connection plumping activity with both of your children.